Welcome everybody to the rich cultures. Today we have the country Germany. We have a special speakers, Ana Catherine and Eduardo. Ana Catherine is German and Eduardo is Brazilian, so they live in Germany and they have a lot of experience in Conscientiology. They know Conscientiology since 1996, and they are living in Germany for over 15 years. So they have a great experience in this country, so I think we are going to learn a lot. Okay, so welcome, and you can start.
Okay, thank you, Virginia, for the introduction. Regarding the technical things, if we have these sounds, extra sounds, I think then it's always good to close the microphone. Those who don't speak, to close the microphone, okay? Yes. And so when we speak, when we are not speaking, we also close the microphone so we don't have the interference. Is that okay? Yes? Okay. So thank you for the invitation, first of all, and yes, today we will speak about the Germany as a culture, and please feel free to interrupt anytime if you have questions, if you want to talk about your doubts or your ideas, because it's like this, we cannot see everyone who is participating, people, for example, who are in the room, so you just start speaking or you just open your microphone so we can then automatically we can speak. If not, we have a problem to interact. Okay, very good. So we go to the first slide. So our main objective is to present the panorama of the cultural Holocene and the Holokarma of the nation, and based on the consciential paradigm. As we already have people who are more involved with Conscientiology, I think it's no problem to approach this more specific or more advanced issue of Holokarma of the nation. I think it's also a very serious issue. But before that, we go through a slide presentation where we talk about the history and so on in order to understand how the Holocene in Germany, in our point of view, was built. We also will, in the second part, discuss proexological issues of intermissivists residing in Germany. Which are the advantages, which are the challenges, and so on. Okay? Let's go to the next slide. So, first of all, we have here the Germany's geographical location in Europe. Germany in Europe is a country with the biggest population. We will come to the demographic data still. And we can see that we have a nice synchronicity. When Virginia invited us in January to do this presentation, I said, okay, but not in February or March because we still need some time. We are involved with other projects. And she said, no, more in May or June, I will put a date. And so today it's a very nice synchronicity because by chance we have today the date where 20 countries will elect for the European Parliament. The other 8 countries did that from Friday to Saturday, and today, Sunday, 26, 20 countries of the European Union will elect the Parliament. So here you can see the Parliament. A lot of people visited the Parliament last year during the event that we had in Strasbourg. So we are living very close, 25 kilometers from that point. We are on the German side, and Strasbourg is a French city. Okay. So when it comes to the question, Germany, I would like to know from some of you what comes to your mind when you think of Germany. So I will write down a little bit your ideas and so on, and then we will see what corresponds with what people think and what we think of Germany and our experience and so on. So this is a small brainstorming. So I would like to know, we have some German people, okay? I think maybe what German people think of Germany might not be the same as foreigner or strangers comes to your mind. So please, you can open your microphone and just say what comes to your mind when you first hear Germany.
Can I say?
Sure.
Second World War.
Yes, Juliana, Second World War, and we will also approach this time, this period of 6 years and 12 years of dictatorship, of Nazism here in Germany. We will approach it because I think it was such a big issue for the whole world that we cannot leave out it in this presentation. Thank you, Juliana. Then we have from Regina Estermann. She wrote here in the group chat, she wrote organization. I think this is also widely a quality which foreigners think that we have. I don't know it, but do you, now living here, do you think we are organized?
Yes, very.
Okay. So I don't know if it's just because sometimes I feel that I'm not so organized. Because when I see other Germans, I think, well, they are organized. I'm not organized.
I can say also maybe representation. I think Germany is nowadays always a country that a big representation in the EU.
Right, you're right, Regina. Germany has a very important role in
yes.
In Europe, yeah, and the European Union. And I think in the last years, regarding the politics of the migrants, I think it has also a status as an example, as an homeostatic, a good example. But this is my private opinion, because there are about 15 to 20% who will vote today against the European Union, against the migration and so on. So it's a personal opinion, yeah, but I think this role in Europe of Germany, which is not only the economical strength, because it's the biggest economy that we have, and we have the biggest population, so we have a certain weight because of this data, but also because of these examples, I think since 2005 in the migration.
Yeah. Okay, I know that that is a polemic topic in EU, but I think also that Germany is an example in this way.
Thank you, Regina. Thank you for your feedback. Someone else would like to say what comes in your mind when you think of Germany?
In my mind comes that I feel good in security. So I'm always walking everywhere in every daytime, night and day, and I never have fear that something happens.
Yes, thank you, Elke. This is very nice, and for me, I think this was such an important thing that I considered when I moved to Brazil. And I saw I did not have the same safety. I did not feel safe. So this is a nice point also, Elke. Thank you for bringing it up. I did not think about this when I worked on the presentation. Thank you.
Yes, I know it because we had exchange students from everywhere in the world, from Venezuela and from America, and they said, wow, we can go out in the evening and go to the bus station. I don't know. I never did it like this in Germany. So I know it from the opinions from other people.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Elke.
I agree, Elke. And when I lived in Germany, it was a nice thing for me that we could walk in the afternoon or later in the afternoon without feeling fear.
I'm German. Ich bin Petra. And afterwards, two things: security and liberty. It's for me the importantest things in my land, my country.
Yeah, that we have this freedom
Yes, liberty, freedom, and security.
And the security.
Yes.
Yeah. Very big values in a democracy, isn't it, Petra?
Yes. Yes.
Great. Thank you.
I think so.
Thank you.
So I'd like to say, yeah, I think when Germany comes into my mind, as well as some of the things that other people have said, another thing is environmental sustainability, technology in terms of renewable energies and things like that. I feel like Germany is quite advanced in that area.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, there's one more thing.
And for me, it's two things. One is reurbanization, and the other is physics. I know because of my personal experience.
Okay.
Very important scientists related to physics, and that my personal experience with Germany is physics, but also reurbanization. After the Second World War, it's very...
Yeah, we get into this topic. If we have time, we will get into this topic of urbanization, because Eduardo and I also consider that this is one of the specialty of conscientiology, which someone who wants to study conscientiology in Germany and wants to go deeper has to understand this project of extra-physical urbanization. Yes, I agree totally with you. And regarding the physics, I don't understand physics, and I had my worst grades in physics, but I at least put the picture of Albert Einstein in the presentation. Okay, someone else would like to tell what comes in your mind when you think of Germany?
Yeah, I have some ideas as well. I think basically it is a very beautiful country as well. We have very different sides of Germany, with hills, with the waters. It's very different in this way. We have a great economy, as some people say. We have a democracy, which is for me personally very, very important. And at least we have a very, very good health and social system comparing with other parts of the world. And as well, we got a very good education system. So everyone who would like to has access to education. And this is basically, for my opinion, to make the change after these horrible experience in Second World War.
Thank you very much, Christel. I totally agree, and I would like to go back to the last slide, because at the last slide I put some photos, some pictures, which Eduardo, the last one, the one before.
This.
Here.
Okay.
Sorry. Here. So these are the pictures. You can see this is our orchard right behind the house. So you can see the orchard down below. In wintertime, in springtime, and in autumn. And then you see a picture of the Black Forest, which also Eduardo took. What Christel said, that we have a very beautiful country. I think a lot of people who just visit the urban side, the big cities, have no idea that normally a very high value for Germans is to live on the countryside and to work in the city. That is like a standard or something, a wish. If you can afford it, you make it. You make your life like this. You don't stay in a city to live there, because Germans need the nature. A lot of people like to go to the nature. And Eduardo and I, we have the habit to go once a day to the Black Forest. So we go into the woods and we walk there and so on. So this is a daily habit in order to de-assimilate energies which we find more dense and so on. So for us, it's like a survival instrument, isn't it? Yes. A survival tool, the nature. And I know Christel is also, she's living in the woods also, or right below the woods. And I think this is also a part which a lot of foreigners don't know, that we German value a lot. Okay, so let's go. Here I took some symbols which maybe people think of Germany. So you have here the oak tree, you have the German shepherd, the dog, then you have you have football, and you have the Brandenburger Tor, and so these are landmarks that you can see, which the beer, the German beer, and then the Brezel, and the in Munich, the how do you say the
sausage, the wurst.
No, this big party. I don't know. Oktoberfest. It's Oktoberfest. Yeah. So a lot of foreigners come and invade the Munich for. I think the Oktoberfest is two weeks, and they make a lot of party, and so a lot of people think that is very nice, you know. But well, we have not participated. I think I was there as a kid. I found it horrible. I don't like crowd.
A good field to research the paraherbanology.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. So let's go to the next slide, where we can see that Germany is a federal republic. So Germany is consisting of 16 states, 3 city-states, which are Berlin, Hamburg, and Bremen. So the creation of the Federal Republic of Germany was through the unification of the Western states, which you can see here in yellow. So after the World War II, we have the 3 allied American, the British, and the French administration, which united. And these made then Western Germany in 1949. And then we had on the east side, you can see these are the new states, or after the reunification, which were the states which after the Second World War remained communist. Okay, so this was Eastern Germany then. And as you know, we were divided. Germany was divided then until 1989. So this is why we have also a different density in population and different demographic data from Western Germany to former Eastern Germany. So even after 30 years of reunification, you still have some demographic data differently because of that different system for 40 years. Okay. So you can see here the population density. So you can see that more people live in the western parts. The western part normally is more attractive, for example, for young people who are good educated, which have a good graduation. They go maybe to university in the eastern part, but then the jobs are better paid in the western part and so on. So our government makes an effort in order to trying to balance this difference, okay, in wages and all other standards, okay. So let's go to the next slide, Edwina. The population in Germany we have a lot of population which have an immigrant background. Now these immigrants, they come from different epochs, from different times. For example, if you look here at the right side, you see the Turkish people. They make the main part of the population with immigrant background, 2.7 million. So these Turkish people, for example, they came in the 60s. So the people it was like this in the 50s. Germany had the big miracle. It's an economic miracle after the World War II. So Germany was growing a lot. The economy was going really well, and then German people did not want to do anymore the dirty work or the factory work and so on. So German people got the better jobs, and they needed per person for the more, the hand, how do you say the jobs when you, with the
mão de obra.
Yeah, how to say, I don't know, factory workers and so on. So Turkish people were, it was made marketing all over Europe that people can manual work. Yeah, thank you, Jacqueline. So they were coming to do more the manual work, so a lot of Turkish people came, but not only Turkish, also Italian people, Spanish people, and so on, came with their whole families in the 60s and the early 70s, okay? So these are part of the immigrants, which are more time here, where we have the second and the third generation already, okay? Then we have like one, you see, from Poland and Russia, also some millions. So when we had the eastern part, like the Cold War was ending and the Iron Curtain was dropping, a lot of people from eastern parts also of Europe came to Germany, because Germany was economically better off and got a better job offers and better life quality, and there a lot of people came. Now there's something very interesting to this period after the 90s, after the reunification. Those people, a lot of them, they had a German background, like maybe they had a German, you know, a German speaking grandma, and then they could come because they have German roots. Because we have a system in Germany which is a little bit different of the American system. The American system you have in Brazil, because it's a typical immigrant country. When you're born in that country, then you're automatically a citizen of that country, okay? And for a long time in Germany, there was not this option that you could be, but it was the blood. It was if your parents are German, then you have German blood, so your nationality will be German, okay? So this is also an important part to understand about the holothosing, okay? So let's go ahead. Oh, maybe something we could say here. We have, I don't have an extra slide for the religion, okay? So you can see that we have in Germany, a lot of people are Christians, so we have 57% of the country's population were Christian, but then we have a large population which is connected to Islam, which is 5% of the population. Almost all of them have a foreign background, like the Turkish people or the people coming from Arabic countries and so on, okay? Then we have very small religious group like 0.1% of Buddhists or Jewish people. And then we have 36% of the population in Germany are not affiliated with any church or religion. I think this is an important data also. You can go to the next one. Here we have a population pyramid, because this is very discussed issue in Germany, because everyone says, oh, we are getting so old, we Germans. We already have a very old population, but we are getting more old. So we can see that in Germany we have a birth rate which is 1.36 children. So we are in an uptrend right now, so approaching 1.5 to 1.6 children, but it's not still on the 2. So the tendency is that we are getting more and more old. So you can see it in the lower, also in this one. You can see here that the trend is to 2060 that the population will decrease because of that. Then we have here a preview with 2 variables. The first variable is that there is not a continuity in immigration, a big immigration. So it's a slower immigration in this one, in the first one. So you will see 2060, we will have like 68 million and not 82 million of inhabitants. And then you have another one which is a more, which considers more immigration. Because you will see it's not only the immigrants that will come that we can add up to the population, but the tendency is that the immigrants have more kids than the German, okay? So sometimes we have Arab or Turkish people, they have 4, 6, 7 more children. So this is a tendency. With immigration, more immigration, we have a tendency that we have more, a higher birth rate also. So we can go to the next slide. Then we have here this question, what is German? And I didn't want to put my opinion what is German, because I thought there are people who are more, who are smarter and thought more about this question. And I found a text of Theodor Adorno. According to Waldo Vieira, Theodor Adorno is right now an intermissivist, so he decimated in 1969. I think it would be very nice if you're interested in philosophy and mainly the Frankfurt School. This is a line of philosophy that I study a little bit, and then you can find that this person, Theodor Adorno, was after the World War II a very important person together with Max Holokarma. So they founded the Frankfurt School. And not only this, I think there were big examples in the reconciliation process right after the World War, because these two Jewish philosophers, they came right after the war, they came back and they lectured again in the University of Frankfurt, which laid them off during Nazism. So they had to immigrate to England and to the United States. And they said, okay, we go back and we want to give our opinion. And they had a very, very big influence on a whole generation of students in Germany. So I think, you know, worldwide, the students of 68, yeah, they were very different also in Germany, and he was a spokesman. So Theodor Adorno was a spokesman. So I like very much what he said, that he's unable to answer this question, what is German? First, it is necessary to reflect on the question itself, since it is burdened by those smug definitions which assume as the specifically German, not what actually is German, but rather what one wishes it were. The ideal suffers at the expense of the idealization. The very form of the question already desecrates the irreparable experiences of the last decades. It presupposes an autonomous collectivity entity, German, whose characteristics are then determined after the fact. It is uncertain whether there even is such a thing as the German person, or a specifically German quality, or anything analogous in other nations. I like this very much, and I agree totally with Theodor Adorno. It's a text which is written a little bit philosophic, but I think we got the idea, right? Let's go ahead. So let's try maybe understand what is German through etymology. So what we can see that people think that the ethnonym German Germani is most likely Gallic in its origin, also from Old French Germain, or also from Latin Germanus, genuine of the same parents, it's the meaning. So the Germanic people were an ethno-linguistic group of Northern Europe identified by the Romans. So the first author who really used the word of Germani was Julius Caesar. So when he invaded Northern Europe, then he said, okay, there are some tribes which are different from the Celts, and he called them Germans, okay, Germanic. Yeah. So then we have our own name, which is Deutsch. So Deutschland is the name for Germany, okay? So we have the root here. So the Proto-Germanic would be, I cannot even pronounce it, Judiscatz. It does not sound like Deutsch, okay? So if we go to the middle of the High German, it's Deutsch already. So it's an adjective from the Proto-Germanic. It means people, okay, or popular. So now we go to some historical information. I have the tendency, I like history very much, so I have the tendency to speak a lot about history. So if you find it's annoying, you just interrupt me and say, I really want to try a smaller version, or say it in 2 words and not in 3 sentences and so on. What I consider very important is to understand this distinction which they gave for the Germans, okay? So if you look at the map of Germany today, you can see that it's not only the Germanic people, but also we have the Celtic people and we have the Slavic influence. So a Proto-Germanic population is believed to have emerged during the Bronze Age. Bronze Age is about 1,000 years before Christ, coming from the southern Scandinavia downwards, okay, southwards. So during the Iron Age, where various Germanic tribes began this expansion to the south at the expense of the Celtic peoples. The Celtic had some different culture than the Germanic peoples. So the Celtic peoples, you can see here the distribution of the Celtic peoples. In yellow, you see here's the Hallstatt territory by the 6th century BC. Then we have the green maximal Celtic expansion in the year 275 before BC. Okay, then we have the dark green. You see the small dark green areas. These dark green areas is where we still have some Celtic influence, for example, in the language we have here. Okay, so then we have on the right side, the upper image, we see that the different tribes that we have for the Germanic peoples. Okay, so we had the Elbe Germanic, the East Germanic, the North Germanic, and so on. So here you can see that we have different tribes which made then this Germanic area. Okay. We go ahead because here we have an information which a lot of foreigners don't know about the German history, but this person here on this monument, which is called Hermann Monument, has a lot to do with the German myth, with the Germanic myth, and also with the Second World War, with this group of consciousnesses who resonated and reconnected with the Germanic way of life. So here we have this landmark, which is called Hermannsdenkmal, Hermann Monument, okay? And then you see the map on the right side where you see a green spot. This is the Teutoburg Forest, okay? So the monument was constructed in the 19th century to commemorate the Cherusci warrior Arminius. Hermann was his German name and Arminius was his Roman or Latin name. And this Arminius, he had a victory over Rome at the Battle of the Teutoburg Forest in the year 9 of our current time. So 2000 years ago, 2010 years ago. So he had turned against his former Roman allies and then led the alliance of Germanic tribes to defeat 3 legions under Varus. So the legions, the Roman legions, were completely destroyed, and their remains, the dead people were there, 20,000 dead Roman soldiers were there, and this left to the decay in they left the bodies to the decay in the forest. So we go to the next slide in order to understand why this person was so important for the Germanic myth. Can you go? Okay, thank you. So you can see here the pink is the Roman Empire at the time of the 2nd century. So you see the green Magna Germania is the area which the Roman Empire never got. So you can see here a smaller Germania Inferior and Germania Superior were colonies, okay, of the Roman Empire. You can see it's still in pink. But then you have the whole territory to the east and to the north, which the Romans could not conquer, okay? And then this brought this myth of that the Germanic tribes were stronger than the Romans, were more bellicist, were better warriors, and so on. And the Nazi people, they connected to this myth, okay? And this is very important to understand the Holocaust. So we had then medieval Germany. Sorry, we have a question?
Yes, can I make a question? I've been reading about the Saxon people, and I've seen your map, the Saxon, it's an area in the previous map.
Yes.
So is the Saxons a German tribe?
Yes, Saxonia. We have still a state of Germany. One of the 16 states of Germany is Saxon. And we have a second one, which is Saxon-Anhalt, okay? So we have this. This is in Eastern Germany, located today in Eastern Germany. These Saxons, Juliana, they in a certain time of the Middle Ages, they spread out to England and to north of Europe. So they were warriors which conquered a lot of territories, okay? Yeah. So this is why it's called Anglo-Saxon populations, okay? These Anglo-Saxon countries, yes.
Because I don't know, I didn't study in depth that, but the Saxons is more related to an area. Is different from the Saxon you have today in Germany. Is that correct?
No, they are originally from Germany, and then they conquered.
I know.
Yes, it's a originally German tribe, one of the Germanic tribes, Saxons. Yes, and they have a lot to do with the Prussian people. We will come to Prussia, which is, you know, in the history of Germany, very important for our reunification and so on. Yes. So a very how to say, expansionist tribe, the Saxonic people. Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
So we come now to the medieval Germany with the system of feudalism, like all over Europe. Feudalism was in the medieval period normal. Okay, so various Germanic tribes came to settle in portions of the Roman empires. You have to know that the Roman empires from the 4th century on, it declined and it decreased. Okay, so it get weak. So the Germanic tribe, they went in and they conquered several territories in Europe. So these tribes, they were brought into unity under the Frankish Empire, okay, in the 5th and 6th century. So when you talk about Carlos Magnus, Charles the Great, yeah, he was a Frankish. One of the tribes was Frankish, yeah. So he was with the biggest the biggest empire at that time in the 9th century. So here in this feudalism, you have an aristocratic hierarchy where the king or the duke stood at the top of the order, followed by the princes. So in medieval Germany, people were a diverse mixture of Germanic tribes as well as Goths and Vandals. So during the Middle Ages, people with Germanic origins expanded all over Europe, mixing with the Anglo-Saxons in Britain and otherwise becoming a part of the Holy Roman Empire. The Holy Roman Empire, it was a long period between the year 900 and 806. We had the Holy Roman Empire. There was nothing holy about it. There was nothing Roman about it. But because of the big Roman Empire before, they just wanted this name. But in reality, it was an Austrian-run political, religious dominion. So we had here a multi-ethnic complex of territories of Western and Central Europe that developed during this early Middle Age and continued until Napoleon, until 1806. So with the Napoleonic Wars, this Holy Roman Empire, it was finished, okay? So the largest territory of the Roman Empire was in 962 too, and we had then this Kingdom of Germany, what one of that kingdoms. You can see here a lot of different colors. So these were all kingdoms or different states. So you can see how many authorities we had. Okay, so we did not have one German specific things. Okay, so this is important to understand also why we are today a federal republic. It's very important that we have each state has a certain sovereignty. Okay, this is a historical fact. This is a historical responsibility that we have. So the whole Holy Roman Empire officially ceased in 1806 as a result of some German states. They allied themselves with Napoleon. So they admired Napoleon and they saw in him this big warrior. And when Napoleon came with his military, then some of them joined Napoleon on a basis they wanted to join, but other ones they fought against Napoleon. So the next slide, Waldo. Let's talk a little bit about the modern period and some very important things that happened in Germany, which I understand they changed the whole world, which was the Reformation. So you have here a figure, very important figure, Martin Luther, and he put in 1570s, he put 95 theses on the door of a church in Wittenberg. At least this is what people say. It's not a proved fact, but a proved fact is that he wrote down the 95 theses and he sent it to an authority, to a religious authority of the Christian Roman Church. So the Protestant Reformation was a movement within the Western Christianity that posed a religious and political and social challenge to the Roman Catholic Church. So to the Pope, to the authority of the Pope. So here we can see that in a few times there was an edict condemned Luther and officially banned citizens of the Holy Roman Empire from defending or propagating his ideas. So we had European wars of religion through a lot of centuries because of the Reformation. So the wars were fought after the Protestant Reformation in 1517. Which disputed the religious and the political order in the Catholic countries. So a lot of people suffered greatly, for example, in the 30 Years' War. From 1618 to 1648, we had the 30 Years' War, and I put here an image of the Peace of Westphalia, which ended the 30 Years of War. This peace treaty is very, very important because it was the first peace done in history of mankind that was negotiated by diplomats. How was the ending of war before? The strongest came with the sword and said, I'm the winner. And this one was the first and so catastrophic war of 30 years that all the involved, and it was almost all over Europe, the involvement of the countries, they were totally bankrupt, all the states. So they came together and they negotiated for 6 years in Münster and Osnabrück in Germany, these treaties. And it was signed in 1648 in those two cities. In Osnabrück and Münster, why that? Because the Protestants would not like to be in the same city where the Catholics were. So in one city in Osnabrück were assigned the peace treaty of the Protestant states and or the authorities, and in Münster it was the Catholic, the ones like France and so on who were staying Catholic. Okay, so but it's very important because it's called by historians the beginning of the modern international system. it's like a law thing. It's very important for the international law. Okay, so we can go ahead. Then we have here Napoleon, who was very important in order to he really help us to form a nation. Okay, so in 1806 Napoleon created the Confederation of the Rhine, which was made up of the 16 German states. Then in September 1806 Prussia went to war with France. Okay, then we know that Napoleon went to Russia, and then the winter came, and then he had he had setbacks in his military expansion, and he came back. And in 1813 there was a very big battle. It's called the Battle of Nations, also the Battle of Leipzig, and here he was defeated. And you know, there were 600,000 soldiers involved, and 92,000 soldiers died on this battlefield. So it's just to understand how also the whole authority of Bellicism in the German geography and parageography was there since a lot of centuries. Okay, we go ahead. Now we come to the proclamation of the German Empire. It took place only in 1871, so we did not have a nation called Germany prior to 1871. So after the joint victory of the German states in the Franco-Prussian War, the treaty, the German proclamation of Germany was done in Versailles. Okay, and here you can see the humiliation, why we have a proclamation of the German nation in Versailles. It was connected to the ending of the war with France. So we can see this war, 1870, 1871, was provoked by Prussia, but France declared the war to Germany, and this ends up in the proclamation of Germany. And this was a big humiliation for the French people. Okay, so we have here this rivalry of Germans and France since a lot of time. Before that, Napoleon came, and then they won the war, and then Germany won the war, or Prussia won the war, and so on. So here we have Germany as a very newly formed, growing nation in the period before 1914. And it is pursued, Germany pursued expansionist policy. So they had a lot of rearmament, so led by Bismarck and the Emperor Wilhelm, which contributed to the cause of the First World War. We go ahead. The Holokarma of the nation. Is that the next one? No, the cultural and scientific contribution. Yeah. So also in this period where Germany was founded and so on, we had a very good period of cultural benefits. So we can see here Albert Einstein, 1920, still a young man living in Berlin, working on his physics. And then we have here from the 19th century, we have a lot of mental somatic, the writers and so on. And then we have Beethoven, and I would like to put here one of the contributions that I think that Beethoven worked on. You can go ahead. I don't know if you can hear.
No, we cannot hear.
Sorry. Okay.
Let's see again.
Try it again.
Yes, we need to put the sound of the computer in the share.
Okay. Just a moment.
Now. Do you know the music then?
Eduardo, maybe keep the microphone on and play it from your computer.
Okay, you have no microphone.
Yes, I closed the microphone to share the
okay.
Yeah, okay, you got it.
We hear a little.
Okay, so did you recognize it? What was it? What was it?
Did
you recognize it? Someone recognizes?
Who recognize? Yes, we recognize. What was the name?
The name is Ode to Joy. Ode an die Freude in German. Yeah, and Jörn said rightly, Freude schöner Götterfunken is one of the letters, yes, the text, okay? So it's Ode to Joy, Ode a Alegria. And today, this is the hymn of the European Union, of Europe, okay? And this was a contribution of Beethoven. So now we come to the Holokarma of the nation, okay? Let's see the Holokarma of the nation. You can go ahead with the other. So we have here the World War I, we have the World War II, and we have the Holocaust. I think it was Juliana who right away said, what comes to your mind when you talk of Germany, World War II? Okay. So, but we had World War I before, and I think we have to understand a little bit more about World War I in order to understand World War II, because if you only look at World War II, you will not understand how this could be developed, okay? So I don't want to go into the particulars. I have a lot of research about World War I. I have one pacifismology colleagues in studying pacifismology, which is Regina Chud, and last year before the event in Strasbourg, which was all about 100 years of ending of the World War I, we studied a lot. We were in the, how do you say, trincheras in English, Schützengräben in German, I don't know. Jacqueline, maybe you help me.
Trenches.
Trenches. In the trenches. We were walking into the trenches. We looked at everything. I studied the politicians, about 56 persons who contributed to the beginning of the First World War in order to understand more. It's what historians make since 100 years. They want to understand, and I think I came to the personal conclusion that we cannot understand the beginning of the First World War, neither the Second World War, without looking at the extra-physical part, the Syriaxology part of the German nation. And therefore, every historical thesis or hypothesis of the beginning of those disastrous war, I cannot consider complete. I cannot consider them as totally conclusive, okay? So we present here the hypothesis of the holokarmic responsibility with this nation of Germany. If we talk about creditors, yeah, we have a number of Jews who lived in Germany before 1933. Approximately 9.5 million in Europe were living Jews, and we know that it's a fact that 6 million Jews came to the extermination and during the Holocaust. So according to estimates, we have also 500,000 Sinti and Roma, called gypsies, you know, which were murdered, victims of the Holocaust. And then we have the whole numbers of the soldiers of the World War II and the First World War. Mm-hmm. So we had 8 to 9.5 million soldiers dead in the First World War. We had 26 million soldiers dead in the Second World War, and we had then 6 million civilians in the First World War, and also 29 million civilians died in the Second World War. So these are numbers which it seems that a normal human brain cannot understand how this could all happen with all the technology that we had and so on. So we want to come to the more extra-physical part. We see that with this responsibility of Belicism, just in the first part of the 20th century, there was this need for extra-physical urbanization in Germany. Okay, so according to Waldo Vieira, the very date that he says that extra-physical urbanization started was on the 27th of January 1945 with the liberation of the concentration camp Auschwitz by the Russians, by the Red Army of the Russians. So it was an afternoon in the winter time, and so the Russians, they came to the extermination camp. It's not only a concentration camp, you have to define differently concentration camp and extermination camp. So I'm just right now reading the biography of Rudolf Höss, who was the commander of Auschwitz. So he, before dying in 1947 by punishment, he wrote about his own thinking, about his psyche, about his life. And this is very interesting for me to understand how a person was thinking, who was able to command a concentration camp where officially 1 million persons were killed. Okay. So the need for extra-physical urbanization was so big in Germany after 45 that we can today also consider that the Holocene of Germany has to do with the urbanizator. So if we talk about the urbanizator, which is the whole, according to Waldo Vieira, the Homo sapiens serenissimus, the most strongest one, and he describes him in the Homo sapiens pacificus. He describes this serenissimus, that the Holocene, the Holocene here, of this Homo sapiens serenissimus was characterized by Germany, the promotion of the extra-physical urbanizations, the assistance to the international institutions, and so on, the European Parliament. So we can consider, if Waldo Vieira describes that Serenissimus urbanizator has this Holocene of Germany, that also Germany has this Holocene of the urbanizator, even if the people cannot tune into this energy, cannot tune in to understand that we have this connection with this Serenissimus. So this is why I put this slide here as the most important part, and you can maybe understand my association, because I started to think of these higher evolved communities who worked so hard in the 50s, in the 60s and the 70s in order to urbanize Europe, which was destroyed by war. It was not only Germany destroyed, the whole continent was destroyed by war. And if you look into the history of other countries like France and Britain, Great Britain and Spain and so on, you will see all those have a long history of Belicism also. So Europe mainly brought Belicism all over the world, but it was Germany. It was the German Holocene where the two worlds was begun. So it was Berlin. Berlin was the capital where the two worlds was really begun. So I think it's very interesting to understand that the need of extra-physical urbanization brought in the help. And if we understand right that the help that did not come only from extra-physical consciousnesses which resonated here, which have a history of resonating here on this planet, but also from other planets. And this is very, very interesting. I know that Jörn studies extraterrestriology. I think it's a very important part to understand from which planets came those extra-physical consciousnesses during that period of time, and what are their specific tasks in the extra-physical reorganization. We have some hypotheses from our research at Waldo and I. We are doing a lot of field research. We go to places which we consider that they are in a process of rehabilitation, and we try to connect with the helpers, and we try to look what kind of extra-physical communities and consciousnesses are working. And sometimes when we work with energies, which is a big part of our life, when we work energies after giving classes, before giving classes, or when we are visiting other places, which we consider more dense or more immature, then we connect a lot to extra-physical consciousnesses which don't have a human appearance, which come from other planets. And they, a lot of times, they make the security. They make the security, and they get out, leave out the denser energy or the extra-physical consciousness who wants to attack. So very interesting to study this part. And Eduardo and I, we are part of the Invisible College of Paravision, where we also sometimes talk about our field research. Right now we are writing a book about that in the college.
To the college. Huh?
To the college, through the college. Okay. So let's go ahead. What happened with Germany after World War II? I think a lot of you know that we had then to split the country. So here we can see that we have Eastern Germany and Western Germany. So as I explained before, the three allied, the French, the British, and the Americans, they had an administration together. And then they formed Western Germany, okay? So we had the whole period of the Cold War, where we had the Soviet Union on the communist side, and the Soviet Union, they had the Eastern Bloc, okay? So Eastern Germany, with the capital of East Berlin, okay, was communist. But then we had this particular thing that in history we never had in any other country, that we have Berlin West inside the eastern part, inside the communist bloc. We have a city which is called West Berlin. And maybe you remember, or you have seen documentaries about it, because it's really difficult to understand if we don't study it. How could that happen, that we have a capitalistic or a free society inside a territory which is all communist, okay? So when President Kennedy from the United States came in the 60s to West Berlin, he made a very important speech at that time. So if you are interested to understand a little bit more about this holothought of the Cold War, and how the whole thing was very dense, very tense. Okay, so it was like we were imminent to a third world war, and the third world war would happen on our territory, because here communism and capitalism, they were on the same territory. So Germany would have been in the focus of it. So this I consider a Holothought consequence of all the Bellicism before. What happened? I think that reurbanization, the extra-physical reurbanization, with the work of all these assistants, technical assistants from other planets, from very high evolved consciousnesses, helped in order to end the Cold War. So in 1989, you know that the Berlin Wall was, by the own people of Eastern Germany, was destroyed, okay? And it was a totally Pacific movement. So there was nothing happened, you know. Before that, the whole 40 years of division, we had a lot of dead people. They wanted to flew to Western Germany. So we had a lot of incidents, But then the whole revolution of the population of Eastern Germany, when it was time, the thing opened.
Mhm.
Let's go to the next one. I know that Regina Estermann also read this book, German Angst. No, Regina, you told me some time ago. It's a very yes, yeah, the German Angst, yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, so this is a very interesting book. I recommend to everyone who want to understand a little bit more. So this German Angst, in Germany you spell it Angst, you pronounce it Angst, but German Angst is a term which is a fixed term abroad. So the English people who are talking about Germany, they say, oh, we have the typical German Angst. So this German Angst term was created by English-speaking people, so foreigners who looked at Germany and they say, what is about those Germans? What do they do? You know, we have different other German terminology which is used in the English language, like kindergarten, Doppelgänger, Wunderkind, Schadenfreude, and so on. But German Angst is very interesting because it's connected with the consequences in the German population. So here we have a German author, Sabine Bode, and she, after always hearing German Angst from the English people, from the foreigners, she said, I have to understand that. So she did interviews with a lot of German people and said, what is that? What do you think that the foreigners said that we have German Angst because we think we are normal. we think we don't have a German Angst. So what is that? Okay. So this is very interesting because she says it is a mixture of despondency and hesitancy coupled with fears of the future and an extreme need for security. And look, Petra said and Regina said, oh, security is a very big value. And Elke also say, oh, security in Germany is very important. And we are the third generation after the World War, okay? So you can see how different values go through the generation and you don't know why you do have this value so much in you. So it is a legacy of World War II and the result of an unrecovered grief over the suffering caused by the war and its aftermath. So if you want to understand a little bit more the Holothasian of the German population, read this book. Here we got now, I want to go into a debate of the Holokarma of the nations. So I just put some slides here. I want to see if you agree with some of our hypotheses. No? So we have here the flag of the European Union. When I say, okay, I'm German, I can see that I don't feel the same when I say I am German as a French person, when they say, oh, I'm French, or British person say, I'm British, you know. We Germans, and Christel, Petra, Elke, you correct me if I'm not right, but we don't speak with so much pride, oh, we are Germans, because we have in our education, in our mind, we have the whole history. So in our education, we studied the world wars. We studied that Germany was responsible for 2 so very terrifying wars and so on. So I think only in 2006, when we already lived here in Germany, after Germany won the how do you say, the football, the football world championship, World Cup. Some people, they use the German flag and say, oh, we in Germany. But before that, I think it was almost a taboo. But Christel and Petra and Elke, you can correct me if I'm not right.
No, this is true. We were not used to use the German flag. And we always had in mind we did the Holocaust. So we were a little bit small when we went outside, yes. Yeah.
Christel and Petra, do you want to say? Because I would like to do a brainstorming here because I think it's very important to understand how we Germans feel about all this Holokarma of the nation.
Can I say something?
Yeah, sure, Juliana.
Germany today is together with French, the most powerful countries in Europe, with economy, education, social security, and everything. So it's interesting because you have such a big war and the Holocaust in your country, and now you are a powerful nation. So it's not that like, it's not a contradiction, but it's interesting to see that. It's not like, it's a very powerful country in a good way, in good areas of life. So how do you analyze that? Have you thought about that before?
Yes, I thought about that before a lot. I talked about that with other German people, especially Regina, a lot. And we study how our parents are thinking, how they were the children during the war, what they gave us, which we did not reflect upon, and so on. And we have here Jacqueline, she says, this is interesting. So they are more transparent in the school teaching about the history of Germany. Yes, you are obliged to understand your history. And you know, when I was in school, we still had to visit concentration camp also in order to understand everything what happened and so on. So we have this not only grief but also this responsibility very our subconscious.
This is interesting because you know, a lot of countries, like, they have this sense of pride and they're not able to look at themselves. And and you know, on the one hand you're saying that you know, people are less proud to say that they're German, but they're more, it's this level of honesty, right, and responsibility, as you're saying. And I think it's very positive.
Thank you.
Anne-Kathrin,
yeah.
It's possible that you translate what I say?
Sure, go ahead.
Weil das kann ich besser auf
Deutsch sagen. Go ahead.
Es ist so, dass meine Eltern beide Flüchtlinge waren im Zweiten Weltkrieg.
Ja.
Meine Mutter aus Westpreußen, das haben wir ja vorhin auf der Karte gesehen, mein Vater aus Schlesien.
Ja.
Und mein Vater ist groß geworden in Großrosen, da war ein KZ.
Ja.
Und es ist so, dass ich natürlich, heute weiß ich es, aber früher habe ich es halt so als Kind angenommen, mit dieser großen Angst und mit dieser Schuld groß geworden bin. Und dass es für mich ein ganz schwieriger Akt war und heute auch noch ist, das abzulegen.
Ja.
Und ich habe selbst heute mit meinem Vater noch gesprochen und der ist immer noch traumatisiert wegen seiner Kindheitserlebnisse in Großrosen und der ganzen Flucht mit seiner Mutter und so weiter. Das heißt, dass die Generation, mein Vater ist jetzt 88, das immer noch komplett mit sich trägt und wenn er davon spricht, sofort weint und das auch mitnehmen wird.
Ja.
Und das in diesem Leben nicht verarbeiten kann, sondern dafür noch einige Zeit mehr braucht.
Ja. Vielen Dank, Petra. Ich werde es übersetzen. Okay.
Ja.
So Petra is saying that her father, who is today 88 years old, he is one of the traumatized children who was a refugee. I must explain that. What kind of refugee? When Germany lost the war, so in the last 4 months of the war, a lot of territories which were, for example, in East Prussia or Western Prussia, they had to come, the people, 15 million people have to have to refuge to the territories in the West. So 15 million people during that time, the people were very poor and it was a hard winter, had to flee. Thank you, Jacqueline. Had to flee. And 1.5 million of them, a lot of children also, they decimated. They were killed, okay? So they were starving of hunger, of injuries, and so on, okay? So her father, he came and he was traumatized child when he had to come. And he was also growing up in a city where the concentration camp was installed. So today, with 88 years, when he speaks of this, he feels so much guilt still that he starts to cry. So Petra said that he will take this to when he's decimating this trauma. He will take that. to the extra-physical, okay? So these are one of the, see, this is one of the very normal German histories. I know that that Jörn has also a family history, which is very interesting regarding the separating and so on. But we don't have time to listen to all this right now. But it's important to understand that today, you can see here the European flag, and you said that France and Germany as the biggest economies, I think they hold up this thinking of Europe and never again we can have war, because they were the enemies and they were always fighting. And so as long as we have the most of the population with this kind of thinking, we never again want war, because this is the Holothassin with what the European Union was created, is what it was. It was only formally economic union, but the Holothassin behind, the philosophy behind was to get, this was the idea of Robert Schuman, to get those countries together so much involved economically that they will not start a war because they are now interdependent. So this is a very interesting idea, and it worked out. So I think if we talk about a Holokarma of the nation, and one of Virginia's proposal was to understand in what kind of stage we are, I would say we did a lot of recomposition already, recomposition, making something up, but we must always look also on the negative aspects. For example, Germany is one of the leading weapon exporters, producers and exporters. So we cannot say we are only working in the recomposition phase, because if we are still exporting armaments, then we cannot say we are not creating new interprison, okay? So, so we are still responsible with our economic strength and technology that other people on this planet are dying. So there is, Rather than I discussed this issue, and we think that we cannot put Germany in a phase, in the recomposition phase. There are several facts, several characteristics which points out to recomposition, but in other aspects, we are still creating interprison, okay? So this is important to understand. Yeah, Jörn, go ahead.
For me, this is very interesting that we have now a change of the generations. So the generation who was in the Second World were born or before, and they have suffered a lot about that guilty of that war, has changed to the next generation. So they passed. And when we start in the education to overcome these problems, we are asking, we are not guilty anymore because we did not participate. We are the next generation. And it was very good that in Germany we have now a new basic law. So the Grundgesetz that we had 70 years yesterday is very interesting, that this is a new democratical thought that was like a neutral in Europe for a new union. Because first, as you said, it was an economic thought of going together. It was a necessity to rebuild the European location, that we have a union which was coming up from the economy side. But then in the second generation, we had that European thought of the political, of the democratic thinking. And now we had the third generation who were more thinking in we are Europeans. I do not hear so often that the young people said we are German. They said we are European. And this is interesting that now it is a passing of the situation. And Germany has a different status as France or England or Italy. France and England, they have more problems with the past of the empire. So we had a different past of it, and we did not have an atomic bomb. And this is something where is a very specific thing coming up with has something which is into that holokarmic change. And this change comes now by the generations.
Okay. Thank you, Jörn. I think we have a question from Melanie. I don't know, Melanie, do you want to speak or do you want to write?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, you can hear me?
Yes.
Yes, okay. The question is, like, from my standpoint as Austrian, Germany and Austria are pretty much like very closely related when it comes to the history that we share together. And as you studied German history, I tried to study Austrian history and its involvement in the wars and so on and so forth. And what me as an Austrian, specifically being involved in conscientiology research, what stands out is this immense guilt that we talked about that the Germans have. And at the other hand, even though for me, this is my opinion, maybe I'm not enough informed, but Austria has also a tremendous part in the wars and why they came about, not just Germany. But the incredible thing here is that Austria doesn't seem to have this guilt. Like, we have the responsibility, but people do not recognize it. Like, Austrians don't want to recognize that they're also equally guilty, if you want to say it like with this word, or responsible in what happened. And for me, it's just like, I'm trying to understand how this is even possible when we look at Germany, where you have generations of people with guilt from what happened, and you can see the positive effects this also had, the recycling, the recomposition. Like, Germany is a much better place, in my opinion, from the Holocaust scene than Austria is, for example, because they went through this. But my question is, like, was this guilt, this generations and generations of also in the education, was it necessary to have this recomposition, to really have this negative feeling of guilt?
I have no idea, because I think once I asked Waldo Vieira about that, about guilt, and he said guilt is never good. Guilt means always intrusion. So I would generally say it's not necessary in evolution. But on the other side, I don't know. I don't know if it's maybe in order to get to a moral, better standpoint, you have to first feel so bad about it. I have no idea, Melanie. But this is a very intelligent, a very smart question. But what can I say? For example, when you look at the pictures here on the left, on the right side. Refugees welcome, and then we have the integration and the inclusion of the refugees. So in 2015, when we had this refugee crisis, or this European migrant crisis, and more than 1 million migrants came to Germany, and Chancellor Merkel, she opened the doors and she said, we can do that. I felt that the German people, they really wanted to help. So this welcoming attitude in the beginning during the refugee crisis showed that this population is possible to get together in a crisis, to do something. And look at some very interesting aspect. We are talking about 1 million people who come from trauma, who come from war, and so on. And if we think of a Syriaxological point of view, we have to ask this question: where are these consciousness coming from? Are those ex-Germans? Are they former victims of the Second World War? And we have unconsciously this welcome attitude, because we know we have to do something. For those people, we already we put an obstacle in the evolution. So these, I think, are the most important question in order to understand reurbanization, the extraphysical reurbanization process. And if you look also at the debate that we have today, I mean, today we have the election of the European Union. We already know that we will have about 19 to 20% of new of the voters who will vote in parties against the European Union. So who are nationalist, you know, thinking.
Which
so
is
if every fifth person in Europe is thinking, I want, you know, I want my country being closed up, I don't want new refugees, I don't want to help, we are better, we are superior, and so on. We have a high percentage of still, in my opinion, problems. So because people are not intellectually or understanding this process. And how could they understand? Because they don't know the extra-physical, they don't know they don't have the paradigm that we have. They only see the disadvantages, and they got a lot of hatred in themselves. And hatred is one characteristic of ballicists, okay? So we still have contrails here, in not only in Germany, but also all over Europe, who are feeding those ballistic holothosing, okay? So this is the part that that we study more, that we are looking at.
It's a urbanization, physical urbanization is the main point.
Which brings us to the next point, which is the existential program.
Actually, we don't have time to go ahead because
maybe you can do it.
But very, very. I will explain how we came to Germany. So the steps, we start in Brazil, 1997, 2002. I call the preparation phase. We started to qualify ourselves to do this work, and then we have this time of in Mexico City. I call the qualification phase because we gave a lot of classes, and then we understand a little more how works the Holothosene out of Brazil. And then Germany started in 2006, and then we don't know until when we will live here in Germany. But we feel that we have a lot of work to do here. And now we are doing our research mainly in the para-urbanology and pacifismology. So this said about the physical base, immanent energy around us. We are living in a small city, a less intrusion, holothosenic intrusion, so we can think more freely than when we live, for instance, in Mexico, with a lot of people, a lot of intrusion, holothosenes. So now we feel that we have the best condition to work in this geography. This adaptation phase is normal from in my case, the language is difficult as English, as Spanish and Portuguese, of course. And then the culture, the Holothosene, but I feel that I have more facility to adapt it to this environment because the serioxology, I know that I had life recently in Germany. And then the existential tasks that we think that we do more is the Penta and the energy work in couple. We wrote an article about this because just Penta is not enough. We feel the necessity to work together during a period of time daily and work together to do assistance. The clarification test, we gave classes in several cities here in Germany and in Europe. Teacher training, it means that we try to, how I say in English, when you gave the task to another person, passar o bastão, we say of Portuguese. And I think the most important thing is to research in para-urbanology and pacifismology. Annie already said that we do a lot of research in field. It means in bases and concentration camps and specific places in here in Germany that is very rich in terms of physical urbanization. And seriality, I had said that we had past lives in Germany. So this concept of self-relay, that means that I am now here to finish or to continue the work that I start some two centuries ago. Yeah. Okay. We have time to do the circulation of energies, mobilization, basic mobilization of energies. So I propose to do these 3 maneuvers in 5 minutes. The first one is the circulation of energies, sterilization, and the absorption of energies. So please find a comfortable position, lying down, sitting. And then try to relax your mind, your body, and proceed on focusing your attention on the energetic body, energosoma. Try to perceive your own consciential energies. And by your will, send the energies of the nervosoma to the top of your head. And then we start to move our energy from the top of your head to the feet. Make your energies pass through your body, from head to feet and hands, and return to the head. First slowly, and then repeat the movement several times. Gradually, the movement will form a circulating loop of energy. Increase the velocity or the speed of this movement. And try to accelerate your energies to reach the vibrational states. Each one in your own rhythm. Try to feel the energy circulating through your body, your energosoma. And try to stall the vibrational state. Gradually decrease the intensity of the vibrational state until you stop, and start the sterilization of the energies outside the limits of your physical body. Exteriorize in all directions to your environment. Let's expand our field, energetic field, through the sterilization of energies. Okay, gradually decrease the intensity of the sterilization of energies. until ceasing this movement. And let's start the absorption of energies by will. Bring into the limits of your holosoma the energies of the energetic field installed by yourself. Continues to absorption of energies. The holotocene of astrophysical reorganization. And the work supported by the helpers. This is the holotocene of this presentation. The helpers specialize in the astrophysical reorganization. And now we can decrease our movements of absorption, lowering the intensity of the absorption of energies, and focus now on perceiving the physical body. Breathe deeply a few times. Move the extremities like your hands, your feet, and bring yourself to the physical condition. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you very much. Everybody's okay after the energetic work?
Yeah.
We did a lot of evocation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, if someone wants to say something, if anyone would like to share anything about this,
we should have more time to
yeah.
to speak about Germany.
We agree with you, Regina. Yes, we need to do a course.
Yeah.
So
it's very interesting and important. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, so thank you very much for your presence. Thank you very much, Anne-Catherine and Eduardo, for your presentation. It was great. We would like to discuss more the ideas, but we don't have time. But we have next month, the next country, that is Portugal, with Pedro Mena. It's in the fourth Sunday of the month. Okay, so we invite you to the next conference. Thank you very much for your presence. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for your patience. Goodbye. Bye-bye.
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 Bye-bye.